What's up, LTD addicts? In this video, I'm going to do something a little bit different. I've never done this before. I'm going to make a tier list for all of the current AppSumo Black Friday deals. I want to point out this video is in no way sponsored by AppSumo. I'm going to say exactly what's on my mind. Now, hopefully this is fun and something that you can give me your feedback on. You can tell me where I'm wrong, and we can do this every single year. It might be a new tradition. I'm going to start off by going through some of their communication-based tools. We'll do this all in one tier list, but I'm going to group them together as much as possible by similar types of features. So I'm going to start off with Consulto, which is a tool that adds a chat widget down in the lower right-hand corner of your website, and it lets you do video chats with clients. Now, you don't have to do video. You can do text as well, or even schedule meetings out into the future. I think this is a really cool idea. It does have a few shortcomings in terms of it relies on things like Zapier or webhooks for integrations. So it'd be really nice if this just connected directly into like any CRM, but to have to use kind of that intermediary party of Zapier. For most people, they're not going to write their own webhook. I'm going to give this, I would buy this if you need this type of tool, but I'm going to give it a B. And if you're not familiar with tier lists, I know it's might be a new thing to the demographic on this channel. S is the best, and then it's A, B, C, D down to the, in descending order there. So I'm going to leave this as something I would recommend buying if you need it, but just know that, it probably is going to need a little bit of extra work to get it to fit into your stack perfectly. All right, continuing in the communication realm, we've got Sessions. Now, I think Sessions is a super cool tool. I'm going to go ahead and put it at A. What this one does is it allows you to do webinars, group meetings, one-on-one meetings, and do bookings as well. So this could replace something like Calendly and Zoom all in one go. The only reason it's not an S tier deal is it does scare me a little bit because it is such a big part of any business's infrastructure that if you rely on this 100% and something happens to Sessions, right? These are LTDs, things happen, then it's going to take a long time for you to rebuild, I think. But it's such a good deal, and the service that it provides and the user interface, it looks really clean and awesome. I mean, if you're already all set up in Zoom and you're already all set up with your entire company and you have a big company in Calendly, I don't know that I would go to the effort of moving everything over. But if you're just getting started, man, this is a really good opportunity to get in. So I'd definitely rank this one as a buy as well and place it just above Consulto. All right, let's continue on here. Next up is FuseBase. And these are like some of the most positive ones I'm going to give. It sounds like I'm just saying these are all great. But these three tools in particular, they solve three different problems and do so in pretty good ways. So I'm going to put FuseBase right next to Consulto. FuseBase is a client portal, so it does a lot of stuff. It also includes project management, and it also includes a knowledge base as well as some file storage. So I love everything that it does, and having it in kind of one place is both a risk as well as something that's really nice. Anything customer facing, I like to keep as all in one as possible. Anything on the back end for our agency needs, I like to have as divided as possible as long as they can talk to each other. That's kind of my overall philosophy. But for a customer, I want to make it as easy as possible. So having their files and their knowledge base and their project management stuff all in one place, great idea. The user interface on FuseBase is really, really nice. So I would give this one a buy as well. Not ranking it up with the S or A tier, just because there's always room to grow for these types of products. And honestly, nothing is going to be perfect for your business unless you design it yourself. So there are some shortcomings, but give it a look. You always got the 60 days with AppSumo. See if it's a good fit for you. All right, next up is Clinked. This one I'm going to put at C level. I think it's fine. I wouldn't buy it. I wouldn't recommend it. It's another client portal. So I would definitely, in terms of the two client portals we have, I'd put FuseBase above this. It's kind of focused around delivering files to clients, which with that one particular goal, there's so many options to do that, right? We've got Dropbox and Google Drive. There's a new product I just mentioned in my Facebook group called Blip, which is awesome. It's like direct transfer. You can send files right to clients, kind of like AirDrop without having to be near them. So there's so many options to deliver files that I don't know that I want a dedicated portal just for that for almost any business. And the ones that need it probably can't use this, right? Because they have really sensitive data and they need to have, HIPAA stuff or, some kind of really, really high level security that I'm not sure I'd be willing to trust a lifetime deal with. But, check it out and see if you disagree. Let me know in the comments because I'm sure there are Clinked lovers out there. It's got a lot of positive reviews on AppSumo. All right, next up is StoryPress. So we're moving into kind of the content area here. And I'm going to go ahead and put this one. I should have had another tier between here. I'm going to put this one at C, but I would buy it with kind of like an asterisk, right? So I wouldn't buy it for everybody. What it does is it's a content platform. So you can publish on it. You can have your own website on it, but I wouldn't use it for that. I would use it more as like a content management, content planning system where it's got Kanban boards and you can collaborate with your writers if you have a content system. I think it's really nice for that, and it can actually publish directly to something like your WordPress website. I'd rely on your WordPress website for a blog or another CMS like that that's open source. For similar reasons, I don't want to rely on a kind of closed source or closed off product that's maybe hasn't established itself already to build out my entire website or to be in control of my blog. So for that reason, I would buy StoryPress under those circumstances where I want to organize my content, but I wouldn't publish to it. All right, next up I actually have one on my list here called HelloScribe, but it's not on AppSumo anymore. So that must have either been removed, but I would say pass on it anyway. So if it comes back, pass on HelloScribe. Next up, I've got Chopcast here. And Chopcast is a shorts generator. There's a lot of tools out there doing this right now. So basically you upload your full form content, and then Chopcast is going to go in and look for viral moments and allow you to chop them up and change them into shorts. So this is a difficult one because I just kind of recommend that you don't use these types of tools quite yet. I know that's going to be a little bit controversial, but I don't think I've tried a handful of them and I've never had good results with any of them. So it's not that I'm saying Chopcast is, bad and other ones are better than it. But I'm going to put it's a very interesting category, but right now, really, I think the best thing you could do is learn something like Final Cut Pro, or if you're on PC, you can get, and even on Mac, you can get DaVinci Resolve, there's a free version. It has AI features in DaVinci Resolve that can do transcriptions, but you do need to upgrade to their paid version for that. And you can generate shorts from that. And it's just going to give you so much more control. If you're interested in doing video content at any degree of professionalism and high level, I don't recommend online video editing tools. Kind of just flat out learn to use what's called a non-linear editor, like Final Cut, like Adobe Premiere if you're an Adobe person. I'm not an Adobe person. And Resolve is also wonderful. I've spent a lot of time editing in Resolve and even considered switching full-time over to it. So those are 3 great applications that are all fairly reasonably priced. So I would definitely look into that. All right, next up, we're going to hit the design products, which we're going to start off with the AppSumo Classic. I looked this up and I don't remember exactly, but I think it was like 10 years that AppSumo has been doing deals with deposit photos. I'm going to stick this one up here at A level. Now, this is not really a lifetime deal. It's you buy credits for stock photos, and then you have forever to redeem those credits, but they don't replenish over time. Deposit photos, super high quality stock photos. I always keep some credits on hand, even though we've got things like AI art and I subscribe to Envato Elements. Whenever I need a really high quality stock photo, I always go to deposit photos because they're just a class above those other sources. They're going to be up there with the higher end stock photo imagery that is much, much more expensive. So if you do any sort of work where you might need stock photos, I definitely recommend picking up deposit photos. But you also don't have to rush because, at least so far, they've come back every single year for like a decade. So kind of an AppSumo mainstay, so to speak. All right, let's continue on with our design tools here. Next up is design. This one, I hate doing this because there's real people that work on these products, and I don't want to say anyone's doing a bad job, but I'm going to stick design down here at D level. So design is kind of one of those old school ClickBank products. I was really kind of surprised to see it on AppSumo. I'm not saying it's overall a terrible product. There's just a lot of competitiveness for this type of tool right now. I'd really recommend going with some of the mainstream players for, just like I said, for video editing. In terms of doing graphics, either learn Photoshop or get Canva, or as a Mac user, the best alternative is going to be Pixelmator Pro. There's also the Affinity Suite as well for PC users. So there's a lot of great options for real professional level design that also makes it a little bit easier for someone who's not trained as a professional. Start with Canva, and then next up I would say is Pixelmator, which is super powerful, but doesn't necessarily expect you to be a design nerd to get great results. So that would be my not a dig necessarily at design, although it is kind of that old school ClickBank mindset to it, which gives me a little pause. But just the fact that there's so many other good tools out there. All right, next up, moving into the very first kind of AI-focused product of the tier list so far, we've got Logo Diffusion. Now, Logo Diffusion is based on Stable Diffusion, and it's meant to help you generate logos. Now, the only problem I have with this, I love the Stable Diffusion technology. It's open source, which means it's not going to be held back by any corporate censorship or, just it's going to be able to develop with the community. And if you know what open source is capable of, that should get you excited because they're going to be able to add a ton of features. The problem I have with Logo Diffusion is that they really, really doubled down on the logo aspect. So for that reason, it's going to go into the C tier. Now, there's no reason any other Stable Diffusion-based tool couldn't create logos. So, I think Logo Diffusion is going to have to expand their horizons, especially as you're seeing things like Dolly be able to add in text, right? So it's like, well, why would I go with something that's really focused on logos? Right on the flip side of that, I'm going to go with Super Machine. And this one, I think, could be our first. Is it S? Is it A? Super Machine is really, really good. I'm going to give it A level because I'm reserving that S for like the really, really special apps. Super Machine is one that I definitely recommend. It's got everything I just talked about with Logo Diffusion. It's based on open source technology, but there's a great developer behind it. I just made a full-length video about Super Machine, and even since I've made that video, they've added more features, and not like small features. They've added big features to Super Machine. I was like, I need to update my video already, and it's like a week ago that I made the video. So Super Machine is a really good investment. I think just buying the single lowest tier is going to be enough for most people, unless you're, just absolutely obsessed with AI art and you need it for your job or something. I would go for that. It does have a model trained on logos, so you can actually do logos right inside of Super Machine, which is, again, kind of the problem with Logo Diffusion. All right, moving on to the next category. We're flying along here. The next one is lead generation. And so we're going to start off with Closely. Now, Closely is one that I would recommend buying. I'm going to give this a B tier. And again, I'll add an asterisk to that in that this is a LinkedIn outreach tool that also does cold emails for you. And LinkedIn to me is just this like spam haven, right? Like I can't even log into my account because it's 4,000 notifications of people congratulating me and offering me to buy their online course or something like that. So I personally, my network is not built around LinkedIn. If yours is and you do LinkedIn outreach, it obviously works or so many people wouldn't do it. So I'm trying to be open-minded about it. And Closely looks awesome. It does the one thing that you really need if you're going to do LinkedIn outreach, which is it includes a proxy so that you are not going to be compromising your IP address and allowing LinkedIn to kind of ban you. So definitely recommend using a proxy if you do any LinkedIn outreach at all. So for that reason, I'm going to give it a B, but it's not going to go any higher than that because I personally can't like vouch that I've gotten tons and tons of business. I've had clients actually. So yeah, I've done LinkedIn outreach for clients and been successful with it. So I know it's real. It's not for me. So teach their own. All right, next up, we've got Omeron AI. I hope I'm saying that correctly. Oreman. I'm going to go in with Oreman. We've got Oreman.ai, which is a chatbot builder. So I made a video about a product called Chatbase many months ago. It's no longer on AppSumo. That was the one to get. Chatbase is awesome. It's got a great developer. They're trying to add new features all the time. And I'm not saying that this is a bad one. I'm going to rank it at C and say pass on it with an asterisk that if you need something like this and you're willing to take a flyer on it, go ahead and grab it. I just do not like the approach and the overall aesthetic of it. It's never a great thing when you're adding like a chat bot to your website and it has a overbearing design aesthetic to it and it changes the overall feel of your entire website. So I feel as though Oreman kind of does that. So for that reason, it's going to get a C, although I would still buy it and try it out if I really wanted to have this type of product on my website and I didn't have any other options. All right, next up, we are getting to SEO stuff. We're going to look at SEO Crawl. I'm going to give SEO Crawl an A rating. This is a tool that allows you to connect up to your Google Search Console as well as your Google Analytics and display that information in a little more of a palatable manner. I think this is a really, reasonably priced offer. I think it's $19 for this. And if you're using it on your own site, it's going to be a great way for you to avoid having to open up Google Analytics. I don't know about you, but I don't even like going to the website because it just feels like you're going to get punished with information and it's going to be overwhelming. So SEO Crawl makes that a lot easier. I don't personally use Google Analytics on my websites, but my clients use them. And Google Search Console is something I recommend. Literally every website use Google Search Console. It's the only way that Google is ever going to share data that it has about you with you. So get connected with Google Search Console. There's literally nothing to lose there. It's not taking data, it's sharing data. I'm going to go ahead and start off with Content Paste. And this one is going to end up in the C tier. I'm going to pass on this one. I would not buy this. What Content Paste does is it analyzes your content and looks for ways to optimize it for SEO. So suggesting keywords, telling you how many words you should have in the post, things like that. There's a lot of tools out there that do similar things to this. The most prominent one, maybe the one that's most commercially successful, is Surfer SEO. And that's a nice product as well, although it's a little bit pricey for what it does these days, in my opinion. I don't necessarily think that these types of tools are all that useful. Like, you don't have to have one to rank. They can be useful if you're struggling, dump your article in, get a little bit of feedback, and then go back. But most of all, like, Google is getting smarter than keywords. Google is, basing its recommendations on things more than just how many words are in the post. So you can get better cues from your users and the feedback that you're getting about whether your content is long enough, whether it's thorough enough, and just knowing, is this content excellent? Can I truly say that this is an excellent piece of content, or was it generated with a couple of mouse clicks and some AI? You kind of know then that, you're not going to rank highly forever for a valuable keyword, right? It's just not going to happen because there's going to be a real expert out there that's got better writing skills with better insight than the AI robots do, at least for now. Fingers crossed. All right, next up, this was a hard one for me to evaluate because this tool, which is called NetPeak Spider and Checker, NetPeak Spider, NetPeak Checker, this is a Windows-only tool, and I am Mac only, so I haven't tried this one. So I don't really have a recommendation one way or the other. I can tell you what it does. It is a screaming frog-like tool. If you're an SEO person, you know what that tool is. It's been around forever, where it'll go ahead and check the website and tell you, everything it can find about it, help you do a technical analysis of a certain website. So if you need something like that, it's worth checking into. But for those specific reasons, I can't tell you whether it's good or not. So I guess I will just leave it here and in the B level, just kind of be mid to it. Like, I don't know, check it out. I don't have a not available rankings, but I still wanted to include it, mention it, that it's out there. So if you are looking for an SEO tool and you're a Windows user, that might be a valuable one. All right, next up, we've got Ping Home. Ping Home is going to get C-level from me. Ping Home, it is an uptime checker, essentially. That's the most basic way to explain it. It does have some more technical features involved in it, but I think for the vast majority of people, the free plan at Uptime Monitor, which gives you free website monitoring for up to 50 sites, I believe is the number at this point, is going to do the job, and I wouldn't necessarily recommend Ping Home, particularly because something like Uptime Monitor is going to integrate with other tools. Like, I use MainWP. It works perfectly with Uptime Monitor. If you're looking for a paid solution, you can look at BetterStack, formerly known as Better Uptime, which also works with something like MainWP. So the uptime monitoring game is a tough one to compete with. The one benefit to something like Ping Home, I would say, over Uptime and Robot would be that it has a status board. So you can make a status board, show your client their uptime, things like that could be nice. Although in my approach to managing client websites, they're going to assume their website's online, and they don't really want to check a status board to see if it's online. So if you're kind of working with clients like that, the best thing to do is keep their website online, keep the uptime monitoring for you so you're not burdening them with uptime issues. If something goes down, you are supposed to get the notification. You are supposed to fix it before they even notice. That's my philosophy, but I understand there's different scenarios depending on different clients. The last tool inside of this category of kind of SEO, conversion rate optimization, analytics, things like that, is going to be True Conversion. Now, I made a dedicated video on True Conversion, and it was maybe slightly controversial because some people really don't like True Conversion, I guess. I've learned that over the years that, people have their grudges. The other video I made, there was a similar kind of reaction from a small group of people. True Conversion, I think, is a really high quality tool. I'm going to put it in the B tier level. The objections that I heard was that this is out of date, and that is kind of true. It's not a super modern, sleek looking interface, but most business to business tools are not. Now, the history behind True Conversion is that it was created by a big company called Digital Marketer, and they sold it off. And the new company is monetizing it, and they're not doing a lot to change it and upgrade it, but it still is a tool that was designed for digital marketers to get really insightful feedback. It used to be hundreds of dollars per month, and now we can get lifetime access for what is the lowest plan? I think it's like $79, $69 for True Conversion. So, with these lifetime deals, there's pros and cons, right? Are we getting the latest, greatest, most modernized tool? No. But we are getting a tool that is already established, well built out, created by some very intelligent marketing minds, and we can use it forever for a single payment. So, you can't have everything, right? All right, next up, we've got Akumba Mail. And this one is a beautiful marketing automation platform, which allows you to send off emails to your customers, do complex marketing automation, build out drip sequences and everything like that. I am really torn on this, putting this I've got my mouse seems to be out of whack here. I'm going to put this at the A level. Again, nothing is S level so far. Akumba Mail gives me the same type of pause that Sessions did way back at the beginning of the video, simply because Akumba Mail is a platform that once you build on it, it is a pain in the butt to move to a new email marketing platform. So if you have to, hopefully you don't, but if you have to, that's going to take a lot of time. It could possibly cost you a lot of revenue because your deliverability might change. It's just really, really complex to move over between email marketing platforms. I also do not like that it doesn't necessarily integrate with I love WP Fusion. I don't believe they have an integration for that. So check to see if this tool works with the other things you need, like your forms on your website, things like that. But if it does, great. It's a very popular deal, beautiful interface. I'm an open source person, so I will stick with Mautic. My newsletters come from Ghost. Those are two great open source platforms. So I will not be using this personally, but I definitely see the appeal, and a one-time cost for email marketing is a really, really attractive offer because that thing can get super expensive. All right, next up is VBout, and I'm going to say that this one is slightly edged out. I'll just be upfront. This one is definitely edged out by Akumba Mail. Whether it's a B or a C is kind of a mixed bag for me. I'll put it at B, but I definitely would buy this one. So I'm giving this a no buy, but it's still a good tool. It does a lot. So the kind of all-in-one nature of it gives me some bit of pause. If you've already got it and you're enjoying it, that is great. But between the two, I would go with Akumba Mail. All right, moving on from marketing automation type tools and getting into video, we're going to start off with Wave Video. Now, Wave is a tool that has been in the LTD scene for many, many years. I think I first bought my Wave Video license on Stack Social, a little bit of a throwback there from about 3-4 years ago, and really, really good tool. I'm going to give this one an A, not for its main purpose, though. What I used it for, I don't use it for this particular thing right now, but it's got a stock library of videos in there, and it's pretty good stuff. Now, in order to use it, you have to actually put it into a project and then download that project, and then you can put it into your nonlinear editor, which I recommend having one, like Final Cut or something like that. But it's a really cheap way to get stock footage out of their library. Wave has since gone on and kind of refocused to be a streaming platform. And I don't necessarily know that I would trust them for streaming because it's browser based. It's that's always a little bit hit or miss. So I love having a standalone app for that. Obviously OBS is free and it works on all platforms, but I would definitely recommend Ecamm Live if you're doing live streaming on a Mac. That is hands down the best tool for that at this current stage of the game. So Wave Video, it has cool templates. It's got if you're doing live streams, it's got nice countdown timers. It's got nice overall where you can have a nice backdrop for your individual, interview guests to have a nice backdrop behind them. Wave has got a lot of really cool motion graphic templates like that. So I would definitely invest in it for that reason. And then try out the other tools, see if they work for you. But for me, I would stick with something like Ecamm. Now, by the way, all of these tools are available with the link down below in the description. So if you want to be kind of thumbing through them as I go ahead and talk through it, of course, I will get a commission if you buy from my link. So if you're enjoying this content, go ahead and give that a click. Thank you so much. Let's continue on with our next video tool. This is our last video tool. This is Gumlet, which is a video hosting platform. And I'm going to put this, I would put it at D, honestly, but I think it's too harsh. It's a nice looking platform. I would not recommend it though. The primary reason for this is it's expensive. It's actually quite expensive for what you get. Video hosting with a platform like Bunny, you're going to pay for what you actually use. So you might, have a few hours worth of content or hundreds of hours worth of content, and you can stick that up on Bunny, and they're going to charge you a very minimal per month storage fee, and then they'll charge you just based on what people are actually watching. I know this situation very, very intimately because I've used Bunny for years, but I also set clients up on Bunny. And I've literally taken terabytes of video footage over 10 years from this one particular client off of a video hosting platform called Wistia, very popular business video hosting platform. We got all of their videos off of there through the Wistia API and transfer them directly over to Bunny and ended up saving them, I think, in the neighborhood of around $3,500 a year over their hosting costs. They're currently spending $11 a month on Bunny, whereas it was $250 a month on Wistia. So to really get the value out of something like Gumlet, you're gonna have to just max it out and be doing a ton of traffic all the time. And very few people are doing that. I'd much rather be on a platform where I'm paying for what I use that keeps the platform sustainable. And if something ever goes wrong, it's going to be similar to everything else I've mentioned, really a huge pain in the butt to get all of your stuff off of Gumlet and over someplace else. So for those reasons, I don't like lifetime deals on hosting platforms. It seems too risky to me. I've used Gumlet for image hosting in the past and been burnt a little bit. They changed their delivery mechanism, the points of access ended up shifting a few years into the deal, and I just had issues with images not loading on pages. So to me, I'm kind of not going to be recommending Gumlet in the past. I've recommended Gumlet, the image hosting, in the past, and my opinions there have changed. Oh, I lied. I said this was our last one, but we actually have one more video tool, and it is Big View. This one, oh man, this could go up to S. This could be A. This is a high-ranking tool. I love this for an LTD, right? Because what this does is it's a television studio in your pocket, right? You can do a teleprompter. You can stream live with it. You're using it on your phone. So I'd still recommend Ecamm, but you can't use Ecamm on your phone. So with Big View, you can do green screen removal. You can you don't even have to have a green screen. It just remove the background. It does so much. But if Big View were to, let's say, disappear, well, big deal. Just find another big deal, Big View. You just find another tool that does something similar. You're not building your entire infrastructure around it. You're still likely writing your scripts for the teleprompter on another application. So you get a new teleprompter app. You're likely live streaming, through Big View. If that goes away, well, you just find another way to live stream, or you do it directly on the platform, something like that. So I highly recommend. These are the types of LTDs I like the most. They're utilities. They help you do your work faster and be more efficient with it, but you're not banking on it to be a smashing success in order for you to be a smashing success. So love Big View, love the concept. I would definitely recommend buying that one. All right, next up, I've got an audio tool here. This is called Rumble Studio. The concept here is quite unique, actually. It is asynchronous interviews. So the idea is that you could record your side of a conversation and then send it to someone else so that they could record their conversation and send it back to you. And then all of a sudden, you've got a podcast recorded. Now, I'm going to go ahead and put this at the C level because just based on the concept alone, I don't feel like this would produce content that would be very interesting, because the point of a podcast, in my opinion, is the one that I actually enjoy, are the ones where you feel like you're in the room with them and you're getting access to a conversation that you wouldn't otherwise have, right? And if everything is kind of pre-chunked up, that conversation just can't be as natural, and it can't be as vulnerable, or as it gives someone time to think before they answer the question. And that's not necessarily what you want out of a podcast. You want that spontaneity. So for that reason, I don't think I would recommend someone creating their podcast with Rumble Studio. And for that reason, I wouldn't recommend buying the lifetime deal. Next up, we are going to get into the site builders. And if you know anything about me and my opinions, you know that this is going to be a pretty brutal section. So I'm going to start off with a little bit of positivity. At my site, I would recommend buying this. It's not an amazing app, but it is something I would recommend buying. We're going to give it a solid B tier placement. So what At My Site does is it takes your existing site that could be based on something like WooCommerce. That's kind of the one scenario I recommend this, where you're wanting to have your own app for your WooCommerce store, and you don't have the money to hire a custom developer, because that can be 50, 60, 70, 100 grand quite easily to have like a custom iOS app created. But At My Site can do it for like 15 bucks or whatever, how much this costs. I think their normal prices is like 15 bucks a month, but you can get the lifetime deal for 59 bucks one-time payment. So we'll turn your Woo site into an app. Now, this is a great recommendation or a great tool to purchase if you have the right mindset going in. You are not going to get a true, completely custom app where you have complete ability to do whatever you want, and you're working with a developer and you have an idea and you say, do this, and they come back to you and it's created. That's not going to happen here. It's basically going to be like a nice wrapper of your existing website that you get your own icon. It can live on someone's home screen on their phone. That's the idea. And if you're okay with that, then At My Site is a good investment. If you want something completely custom, start saving your pennies. It's going to be expensive, but it could be well worth it if you're already doing a lot of traffic, a lot of sales on your e-commerce site. All right, the bloodbath begins. Let's go ahead. I'm going to start with Brilliant Directories. I know this is a popular product. I'm going to give it C. I have used Brilliant Directories. They emailed me well over a year ago and like, hey, you can have a site and check this out and see if you want to make a video on it. And honestly, it was like this. It was just too overwhelming and weird. If you're trying to make a directory site and you don't have a budget and you don't have a developer, it's not something that I would say just never even look at. But if you know a little bit about WordPress and custom post types, do that over Brilliant Directories, because then you have control and flexibility. It's a lot. It's chaotic. I did not care. The websites that are created from Brilliant Directories just have a, old look to them, in my opinion. Yes, this is my list. It's my opinions. You can make your own list if you have different opinions, but I do want to hear it. Like, let me know how I'm wrong here, because I will admit that I tried Brilliant Directories, but that like initial overwhelm, like just the presentation of everything, they have all these add-ons and like, it just was a lot. It felt like WordPress without the good parts of WordPress, just the bad parts. So I did not give it I didn't actually build out a full site. It was too much for me. So if you built the site and it's super successful, link to it down below. I want to see it, and let me know how much you love Brilliant Directories. All right, next up is WebWave. I'm going to put this in the D tier, which I guess we're getting cut off on our video here a little bit, but WebWave is not my favorite web builder. It works the way that when I was getting started with web design, I'll keep this story short. The way that I wanted web design to work was to mimic something like Photoshop, where I can take an image and just put it wherever I want on the screen. And then, I could put something else and I start moving boxes around and just place them where I want. And that doesn't work. That's not how the modern web works. But that is how WebWave works. So you're just going to run into all sorts of trouble here with just huge DOM sizes. It's going to make Elementor look really, really trim. A little bit of nerd speak here, but just basically, if you want to learn to build a website, don't start with a product like this. Start by learning the basics of HTML and CSS. You can do a lot with that. Just open up your text editor and follow along with some YouTube tutorials and learn how that stuff works. And then you can move to one of the platforms that will kind of build it for you. But I really strongly believe that you need to develop that skill. If you're going to build websites, you should know, like as though if you were going to be a cook, you should know a little bit more about how ingredients interact rather than just reading the box of macaroni and cheese directions, right? We want to know just a little bit more than the TV dinner approach to cooking food. We want to know just a little bit more than the TV dinner approach to building websites as well. So WebWave also just was very slow and unreliable for me as I tested it out. I initially created a template website and it just hung and froze forever. And I let it sit there for like 7 minutes and it still says loading. So I refreshed the page and then it came back with an error and like wasn't available. Refreshed it again and it was finally there. So it did not seem like a super rock solid solution. Yeah, that's what I have to say about WebWave. Let's move on to Story Ad. And this is a little bit different. This is going to be a website builder for authors, particularly. It's got some other features for authors, like it helps you create marketing plans and it's just this toolkit if an author wants to launch their products. My advice here would be similar to what I just said with WebWave, which is if you're going to make a website for yourself, learn the real tools, like learn a little bit of code. It's not hard. It really isn't hard. You can learn HTML and CSS in a weekend if you apply yourself, enough to get started. Obviously, they're big subjects, but you can learn the fundamentals. You just have to learn to read it, really. You don't have to be an expert at writing everything. I used to say that about music as well. Like, as long as you can read it or you can just look at it and understand it, you don't have to be able to read it in real time. So Story Ad, this one is going to go into, I'm sticking this in the D tier as well, just because I think it's such a bad idea for a product and I cannot see it sticking around, based on the fact that, authors traditionally not a super lucrative market to launch to. People who want to be authors, you can sell them a course on learning to become an author, but people who are already authors trying to find ways to turn their book into revenue, that's different, right? Because really the only way to do that is with a huge social media push and lots of great publishing, connections and, they're creating a buzz behind it, but having a pre-built template website, probably not going to move the needle for you. So for that reason, I don't necessarily think Story Ad, again, there's real people behind this, so I hate saying this stuff, but I don't think Story Ad is a product that will be around for the long term. Hopefully the developers there prove me wrong. All right, next up, we've got Fraud Blocker. Fraud Blocker is a tool that allows you, and I've like fully maxed out the capacity of this tier list builder here. You can see it's like really, really struggling to put it where I want. Fraud Blocker, I'm going to give, this one is tough. It is going to be, I'm going to put in the C tier. We're running out of C tier room. Oh, good. It went down to another line here. Now you can't even see the D tier on the recording, which is fine by me. So with Fraud Blocker, the problem is that a lot of fraudulent clicks. So what it does, by the way, is if you have Google Ads and you are running ads and you're worried about your competition going and clicking on your ads or setting up some kind of bot to click your ads to drain your spending, that would be a really terrible thing, right? Google has some methods in place to try to prevent this. But what Fraud Blocker does primarily, my understanding, is it's going to remove like duplicate clicks. So if an IP address clicks more than one time, it might say, no, you can't click this time. And the problem is that these types of services will just get around that by only using one IP address per click. And they have just, pools of IP addresses they can cycle through. So it's something that can kind of be circumvented. However, it's $49, one-time purchase, might be worth trying if you're currently suffering from this problem of fraudulent clicks. Then definitely try it. But if you're not running Google Ads or you don't have a problem with fraudulent clicks or you don't suspect that you have a problem with fraudulent clicks, then I don't think it would necessarily be worthwhile. All right, staying in the category of paying for traffic, we're going to look at Wob, which is an influencer marketing platform. Now, Wob is a great market to be in terms of there's a lot of people that want to do influencer marketing. However, I wouldn't necessarily invest in this particular tool just because, especially my typical prerequisites for buying a lifetime deal is it's something you can use right now. You're not buying this to put on the shelf, right? Friends don't let friends buy shelfware. We buy lifetime deals to implement them right away and make our lives easier and more profitable. But with Wob, the problem that it has is, well, it's based out of India and almost everybody on the platform is from India. So unless you are in India yourself and doing marketing for products in India, it probably won't be super helpful to you. So for that reason, I'm going to put it at the C level. I'm not saying it's a bad platform. It's not developed enough. There were tons of just red flag errors in terms of, you go and you click to see available campaigns and it just be blank. Select the text, like there's a blank spot. If you select it, it shows up. So like they haven't worked out the kinks. This is a new platform. If you're full on into influencer marketing and you want to take a flyer on it, I wouldn't like laugh at you, but I think it's just not there yet. It doesn't fit my criteria for a lifetime deal. All right, next up, we have Zero Work. And this is so when you look at lifetime deals, you have to look at the marketing. What are they doing on their own? When you're evaluating whether or not this is something you want to put your money into, how successful are they going to be? With Zero Work, I think they're going to be really successful. The marketing on its own is great. So it's not just a developer who made a product who doesn't know anything about selling things. The messaging that they have, which is like, hey, do you want to create stuff and then not to worry about selling it? Well, then this is the platform for you. That is a really appealing message to someone who's creating stuff and having a hard time selling it, because you might get really into the stuff that you're making, but not want to spend the time trying to convince people to buy it. With Zero Work, what they're doing is they give you a marketing automation platform, not marketing automation, an automation platform where you can build like AI-based automations for people and then sell them. A lot like the GPT store, but not exactly. So I'm going to put this in the A level. I love the marketing. I think it's going to be a very successful product. And yeah, I wish them the best. Really, really recommend at least looking into this one and see if you can build anything with the platform that's going to solve any of your problems. Chances are then you can monetize it to solve other people's problems as well. All right, next up, we've got another automation-based tool. This one is RoboMotion. Really good tool. Would recommend buying it if you are the right customer for RoboMotion. It's going to get a B from me. I think Zero Work, those are kind of competitors. Not exactly, but they're in the same ballpark. I would go with Zero Work if I had to pick between the two of them, because RoboMotion is much more technical. It's meant for people who are full on into doing automation, doing screen automation. You really, it's a desktop app. You really can do anything with RoboMotion, but you also have to have the temperament and desire to do it inside of RoboMotion. So for me, that's not me. The user experience is quite ugly, like you find in a lot of tools along these lines. And if it's not beautiful, I'm kind of at the point where I'm just like, well, I probably won't use it that much because it'll just give me like, it's going to be tiring to figure out where I have to go. That's me. Not necessarily needs. I don't mind writing code, but I don't want to struggle through a clunky builder interface for connecting up automations. That's my own personality. You might be different. I think it is a really good tool. The things that I've seen that it can do are very impressive. However, they don't really serve any of my particular needs. And this is, again, my tier list. All right, just a few left here. Still nothing in the S tier. I'm going to have to put something in the S tier, right? I can't have this thing end without anything in the S tier. Next up is Akoya. I made a dedicated video about Akoya. This is a social media management tool. Really, really interesting product in terms of how it integrates AI. I'm going to put this in the A tier. Again, it's not going into S. A lot of people hate Akoya. I found that out after I published the video. They had a bad experience with Akoya. Apparently, it launched 2 years ago on AppSumo, and they promised some certain integrations that have not come true even yet to today. And that sucks. I mean, like when you're buying something and you expect that something's going to be there, that is a bad feeling. However, I'm going to flip that and say, this is still a $69 tool for 10, I believe, places that you can publish. Buffer lets you publish to 10 different channels for $120 a month. So it goes back to some of the things I said earlier in the video. This is a lifetime deal, $70 one time versus $120 a month. It might not have everything, and their communication skills might suck, but if you can get utility out of it right away, well, then you have a positive return on investment. It's when you get hung up on, I need every single possible feature, and you start messaging the developer and they start overpromising because they want to make the sales. They're not salespeople. That's why they're on AppSumo. That's where you can get into some sticky waters, some muddy waters, where they probably, I don't know all of the specifics here, but I can assume that they probably were not the most responsive. They probably promised things that they didn't know that they couldn't deliver, or just were overzealous on timelines. I mean, for the love of God, Elon Musk promised the Cybertruck, like 7 years ago, and it still is, not really out in the wild. It happens, right? The developers think things are going to take a short amount of time, and they actually end up being a lot harder because they haven't done the work yet. It's not like they have it all done and they're just like, yeah, we're gonna press the publish button in 3 months. They haven't started yet, so they're assuming it's going to be one thing, and it ends up being a whole other thing, or another priority comes up and they have to shift gears. So if something breaks or whatever it is, I'm not making excuses for Akoya, but I am trying to kind of shine a light on another perspective here, that this is the lifetime deal and this is the lifetime deal game. You don't get the buffer quality software on day one. If you're lucky and you buy, let's say you buy 10 lifetime deals, and if you're extremely lucky, one of them will turn into one of those unicorns. And it might take 50 in order for you to get that. But if you're really lucky, maybe you get it on your first 10, and you're now in a situation where you get, like one I have is Patch Stack. When it's on AppSumo, I loaded up Patch Stack. I think I have 100 sites, lifetime deal on Patch Stack. Right now, that would cost me $1,000 a year or something like that. And I get access to it without any additional cost. And that's one of the gambles on AppSumo, right? It's like, sometimes you hit the jackpot, sometimes you don't. I wish I would have gotten 1,000 sites on Patch Stack. If I could rewind it, I would do that. So that is what it is. Koya, in terms of watch the video, if you like the features that are there now, it is a nice, fast, very intuitive platform. So I recommend it for those reasons. I don't ever recommend buying on a roadmap because, once again, friends don't let friends buy roadmaps. All right, let's move on. We've got one more social media tool, and we're going to wrap up this video. We've only got a total of 3 products left, and one of them is going to be S tier. See if you can guess which one. Next one is Vista Social. Now, Vista Social is another social media marketing tool that is very similar to Akoya. It has some pros over Akoya, like it does engagement. So you can use it kind of like a unified inbox where you can actually reply to people. Akoya does not do that at all. It also does reviews. So you can go to something like Trustpilot or a lot of those other smaller smaller compared to like Facebook. A lot of those types of networks are supported right in Vista Social. However, the reliability of Vista Social is really, really slandered quite hard on the AppSumo reviews. So for that reason, I'm going to put it in the do not buy C level tier list. Maybe even deserves to be lower based on some of the reviews that I've read, but I have not experienced those things myself. So for that reason, I'm just going to say, if you want social media right now on AppSumo, Akoya is the way to go. And if you're enjoying Vista Social, that's great. I'd love to hear about it. I want to hear more from people who have good experiences with products that are really kind of heavily panned on AppSumo. So let me know how that's going. 2 products left. Retable. Retable, actually, I got a cold email from Retable a couple of days ago, and they said they want me to make a video about it. And I was like, well, tell me why. Because I rated this as a pass. I'm going to put this in the C tier as well. And if you're following along, you're playing at home, you know which one I'm going to put in the S tier. But Retable is basically an Airtable type of competitor, and it is nice looking, but it's still an Airtable competitor. A lot of people don't like Airtable. People who like Airtable love Airtable and wouldn't want to move to a lesser version of Airtable. So, yeah, I guess I would recommend going with Airtable, and it's free, right? Airtable has a very generous free plan. You only really have to, if you push the limits to the max, then you start needing to pay for Airtable, which is one of the reasons they're not a profitable company, I will add. They're VC funded and lose money every single year. So there's that to take into consideration. Maybe that's the reason you go with Retable, because they're not losing money. They're making money on AppSumo. But to me, I think, let's say you're working in a team and you're already using Airtable, and you go like, hey, teammates, let's move off of this platform that everyone likes and knows, and we'll go to this one that literally sounds like a clone of it. Instead of Airtable, it's Retable, but we don't have to pay for it. And they're like, well, we're not paying for Airtable. So it's just a really hard sell. If it has specific features that you need, then great. But when I said like, hey, why would anyone use you over Airtable, I did not hear back from them. So maybe I will still. It's not been that long, but I've not heard back from them quite yet. Maybe you'll see a video from Retable on this channel if they're able to convince me, and I'll eat my words. But right now, they're in the C tier. All right, next up is I'm going to get, kind of by default, I ran out of deals. So, I mean, this one just has to go into the S tier. This is Voila. This might be a generous placement, honestly. Really cool product, though. It is a browser extension that lets you use AI wherever you are to summarize things, to ask it questions, and allows you to do all that without jumping back and forth into ChatGPT. And one of the reasons I like it so much is that it's cheap. It's $29. It works with every browser. Usually these types of extensions are Chrome only, but this one works on Firefox as well as Safari, which is really, really cool. So, basically whatever mainstream browser you have on your system, you will be able to use this tool. I'd love to see it just integrated at the system level so you can just have it everywhere. And I'm sure we're going to have that from OpenAI at some point, right? Where it's just like an assistant that lives on your desktop and is listening to you all the time, and you can just chat with it. But right now, for $29, it'd be pretty easy. It's like a month and a half of ChatGPT Plus. Pretty easy to get some utility out of that. And even if it evaporates after a year because AI moves so fast and maybe it just becomes unnecessary, well, it was only $29 and you don't feel like I just burned $1,000 on this tool. So they do have a higher tier plan. I should say that if you want to go max, I think it's like 119. Like it's not incremental. It's like 29, 119 off the top of my head. It might not be quite that high, but and that gives you all of the features. So if you're going 120, maybe just, try it first before you dive in. But I think it's really, really cool utilization of AI. Always looking for ways to incorporate more AI to speed up what it is that I do. Not to do it for me, but to be an assistant to help me be better and more accurate and just get more done in a short amount of time. So that's it for the tier list. What do you think? Where did I go wrong? Gosh, I feel like I need to move this down. It's A, but let's see. Are there any adjustments? Before we end this, is there any adjustments that I should make? Should zero work be A? Here, all right. This is the after party, right? Where I'm saying like, here are the ones that could be. I mean, deposit photos. What are you going to do better than deposit photos? Probably nothing. Super Machine even could be, but just Stable Diffusion right now takes so much more work than Dolly. Like when you get the prompts right, Stable Diffusion is amazing, but getting the prompts right is hard and time consuming. So it's really another skill. And I mentioned that in the video, is like, you have to give yourself permission to fail with it over and over again until you get the right results and know its limitations, that it just can't do some things. Is everything fair here? Voila is really cool. I think maybe it's an A, not an S. If I were Dave Portnoy reviewing pizza right now, I would not be able to go back and change my reviews, but I am not. I am Dave Swift reviewing LTDs, so I'm allowed to do this. Big View, I don't know that you're going to beat that either. I love the zero work concept, and I love the marketing behind it. I think they're going to be super successful. SEO Crawl Tool is $19. I don't see why you wouldn't have this on every website, because it's just going to make Google Search Console usable. And I mean, Google Search Console is not that bad, though. It's like the best, in my opinion. Google Search Console is the best Google product. So I am really struggling here. Like, do we want to make S tier super elite? In which case, probably nothing. But is there something between A and S? Maybe there should be. So let's go with this. We'll lock it in right here, at least for S tier. Let me quickly peruse everything else. I feel pretty good about these. Chopcast may be a buy depending on who you are. If you're just not going to open up a non-linear editor, it is cool, but like, I have values and they don't align with those values in terms of like, you should not produce all of the content. You should produce the good content, right? All right. The after show can't be longer than the main show. So we're going to end it here. This is it. This is locked in. I just totally flipped the script on you. You thought, voila, I was going to be an S tier, and I moved it down to an A. I'm sorry, Voila. I think it's still a really high quality product. It's first in the list, right? So it would be next up on S. And if I'm really thinking critically, like there's no reason not to buy this, $19. You should always have some deposit photos, credits around. Big View, if you stream it all. If you don't buy this, obviously. But if you stream it all and you want to be able to do it from your phone, then Big View, why wouldn't you? It's not expensive either. And Zero Work, maybe this is a gift. Zero Work comes down. Just because it's not for enough people. It won't move anymore. So maybe it's now it moved Big View. All right. Zero Work is an A, but it's a high A, right? It's like A plus or S minus if we had that tier. All right, that's it. I'm locking it in right here. No more changes. That is my tier list. Check out the links down below. I've got complete Black Friday coverage and into Cyber Monday. I'll be updating things. Come hang out with me on Facebook. Ask me any questions there. You can also ask me, of course, questions in the comments. I'll try to get back to everybody. Hopefully this has been fun. Don't take it too seriously. Just my opinions, take them for what they're worth. I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.